how to deal with a toxic relationship as a trans person, like if your partner is being toxic towards you or they are hurting you in some way or abusing you. So how will you get out of there?
I think it is very important for all of us to realize that toxicity is something that we have in all of us. It is a very human trait to be toxic. Some of us display it, some of us don't. But it does not mean that I have to settle for it. Very important. I need to communicate my boundaries very clearly. What are my limits? For instance, if I do like yelling, shouting, beating in a relationship can be absolutely out of bounds. And you can even take a call on ending the relationship if such forms of things happen. But often what happens is also emotional abuse, which is relatively slower, difficult to recognize, manipulative stuff, which can have a pattern to itself, right? And can be difficult to work with because you keep questioning yourself. Am I thinking right? Am I thinking right? Or am I thinking in the wrong track? Maybe I'm the one who's responsible, right? And when you have these dilemmas, I think it's best to seek professional help, because a person who's trained in dealing with relationships and issues pertaining to relationships can help you untangle these knots. And here also, to make mental health care accessible, to have sliding scales for trans persons so that they can effectively access care, even have free units if possible, which are funded by bodies which are ready to fund trans care, and then making it free for individuals who need it. I think that is very important. So that can also be a goal to work towards, I feel.
Answer to, because most of the time we were not loved. And when we find a partner, and if that partner is toxic, we'll live with it, unfortunately, because that's all we could get. We can't
Definitely
get love. We feel like that.
And more importantly, if you are living with that partner, know one very important thing, that you are not loving the person whom you should love the most, which is yourself. Unless you love yourself, unless you feel secure in yourself, you can never form a secure relationship with someone else. That's the core truth of relationship, because once you have a neat sense of self, once you have a neat sense of what you should settle for, what you will not settle for, only then you can clearly communicate that these are my boundaries. This is not what I'll accept. And that is important. That is very important. And even I think in the Indian context, parenting is very fucked up, not just in the context of gender sexuality, but in general, because parental abuse is very normalized in childhood. Physical abuse almost is treated as a cultural rite of passing, that without it, as if you did not grow up in an Indian household. So I think our culture and the way it has been normalized has a lot to blame for it. But to realize that, what we received was not right, and therefore to raise the bar high in our relationships, at least in basic things. Like, you need not date an Ambani or settle for really skyrocketing ambitions, but basic respect, love, dignity, validation. These are what, makes a relationship sail through. Authenticity, genuineness. So do not compromise on these values, at least try not.
We should, most of the time, we just ignore these things, but these things are very important, because at the end of the day, they'll keep on accumulating, These
Absolutely.
feelings will keep on accumulating.
And it will become more difficult to tackle.
Yes, exactly.
It will become a mountain maybe that you have to tackle, while it was an anthill probably. One single instance was an anthill which was easier tackled, but you ignored a whole lot, and then you have a Mount Everest to deal with.